நம்முடைய தமிழ் மொழி உலகிலேயே மிகவும் தொன்மையான மொழி. எந்த தேசத்திடம் இருக்கின்றதோ அந்த தேசத்திடம் பெருமிதம் பொங்க வேண்டுமா கூடாதா சொல்லுங்க.
செம்மொழி வலையொலி யூடியூப் சேனல். இந்த சேனலின் மூலமாக, அந்த வலையொலியின் மூலமாக பல்வேறு தகவல்களை தினந்தோறும் நாங்கள் வழங்கி கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நிலையில் சிலப்பதிகாரம் என்ற தலைப்பில் ஒவ்வொரு பகுதியாக வழங்கக்கூடிய அந்த தொகுப்பை முழுமையாக கண்டு பார்க்கலாம்.
பக்குடுக்கை நன்கணியார் might not have meant that the creator is a vicious being, but could have used Panbilalan as a term of endearment. The poet accepts that even if the world is miserable, it is possible to look at it as a pleasant one. It would mean that the creator of the world, who has made life painful, has endowed us with the capacity to live happily despite the difficulties on the way. The creator then cannot be held completely responsible for what prevails here. If there is a hidden reference to the other world, then it is God who must have created that also. It is in Shakespeare's Hamlet, justly considered his magnum opus, that the hero, finding himself in an unenviable situation, comes out with a number of observations on the human condition viewed from various angles. In Hamlet, we come across such observations made by various characters. A rare tribute is paid to man by Hamlet, but he in the same breath refuses to acknowledge that. This character says, "What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in comprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust?" Finally, he calls man the quintessence of dust. At a particular moment, Hamlet is uncertain about the wisdom of courting death and about what would happen after death. Is it right, he asks himself, is it right to commit suicide in order to seek relief from the agonies of life? Is there a heavenly commandment against self-slaughter, that is against committing suicide? He asks, to be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. Though the last scene of every Shakespearean tragedy is loaded with a number of deaths, the fear of death and the advice against it are not lacking. Even a character not known for her wisdom, Gertrude, that is Hamlet's mother, tells her wise son, she advises him in this way, "Do not forever with thy veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou knowest it is common, all that live must die, passing through nature to eternity." Again, the recommendation of a right attitude to death is made by his stepfather, by Hamlet's stepfather. He advises him, "It is sweet and commendable in your nature, Hamlet, to give these mourning duties to your father. But you must know, your father lost a father, that father lost his, and the survivor bound in filial obligation for some term to do obsequious sorrow but to persevere in obstinate condolement is a course of impious stubbornness. It is unmanly grief. It shows a will most incorrect to heaven, a heart unfortified, a mind impatient, an understanding simple and unschooled, for what we know must be and is as common as any the most vulgar thing to sense. Why should we, in our peevish opposition, take it to heart? It is a fault to heaven, a fault against the dead, a fault to nature, to reason most absurd. Hamlet feels that to die may be to fall asleep, but what kind of sleep will it be? He asks himself. To sleep, perchance to dream, aye, that is the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. That is the respect that makes calamity of such a long life. But if one is not going to end one's life, how can one face the endless sufferings of life? He asks. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that the patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quiet make with a bare bodkin? And then again and again he expresses this doubt about death, about committing suicide and leaving this life. Are we reconciled to the torture of life just because we dread the life after death? Who would fodels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than flight to others that we know not of? But then towards the end of the life, and ironically towards the end of his life, Hamlet seems to be certain that it is going to be eternal bliss after death. He asks Horatio, his friend, not to think of dying, but to live on, to tell the truth about Hamlet's life to the future generations, though death guarantees an end to all sorrows and everlasting happiness. He tells his friend, absent thee from felicity a while, and in this harsh world, draw thy breath in pain to tell my story. Though Hamlet often condemns himself for not taking swift action against his villainous uncle, there are occasions when he accepts that everything that happens in this world is providential. He says there is a divinity that shapes our ends. Nothing can be achieved by our will and determination. We should be prepared for whatever may happen to us. He says there is a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. That is, everything that happens in this world is decided by God. There is a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If it be now, it is not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. If it be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all. We should be prepared to face everything in life. The readiness is all. Since no man knows anything of what he leaves, what is it leave betimes, let be, he says. In Richard II, the hero makes a speech about the antique death who sits in the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king. This is how a character in the play Richard II pictures death as a human being. as a cruel-hearted human being, grinning at his pomp, watching till his vanity and his fancied security have wholly encased him round, and then coming and boring with a little pin through his castle wall. Recalling the past history of kings, Richard II himself observes, that is, this is what happened to my ancestors who were kings. He says, for God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings, how some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered, for within the hollow crown that round the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court, and there the antic sits, scoffing his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little seed to monarchies, be feared and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh which walls about our life were brass impregnable, and humoured thus, comes at the last and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell king. This is how he pictures death and its deed. When a series of tragic deaths occur at the end of Hamlet, death is personified and asked, this quarry cries on havoc, O proud death, what feast is toward in thine eternal cell, that thou so many princes at a shot so bloodily hast struck. You have killed so many kings. A long speech by the Duke in Measure for Measure is a negation of life, an almost irrefutable condemnation of life, advising a criminal to be prepared for death. The Duke observes, it is a negation of life. That is, life is lived in vain, life is useless, life is fruitless. This is what the Duke says. Reason thus with life. If I lose you, I lose a thing that none but fools would keep. You are a breath servile to all the skyey influence which hourly afflicts the house in which you reside. You are death's fool, because when you try to run away from him, you run towards him. You are not noble, because all the accommodations that you bear are nursed by baseness. You are by no means valiant, because you fear the soft and tender folk of a poor worm. Your best of rest is sleep, and you provoke that often, and yet you grossly fear your death that is no more than sleep. You are not yourself, because you exist on many thousand grains that issue out of dust. You are not happy, because you always strive to get what you don't have, and you forget what you do have. You are not certain, because your complexion keeps shifting to strange effects after the moon. If you are rich, you are really poor, because like a donkey, you bear your riches during a journey, and death unloads you finally. You have no friends, because even your own bowels cause several diseases and put an end to you. You have neither youth nor old age, because like an after dinner sleep, you merely dream on both. When you are old and rich, you have neither heart, affection, limb nor beauty to make your riches pleasant. What is there in this which bears the name of life? Many thousand deaths lie hidden in this life. Many thousand deaths are hidden in this life. Yet we fear death, which makes all these odds even. Tolgappier defines Kanchi as a Thinai, that deals with the impermanence of the world in all phases of life. Perunkanji, one of the many substrands of the Kanji theme, focuses on the inevitability of death. Mudukanji delineates the great truths of life, including its ephemerality, which wise old men bring home to the youth. Tolkappir also mentions another set of 10 themes which are described as follows. Number 1, the wail of the distressed relatives, the weeping of the distressed relatives surrounding the warrior who met with a glorious end. Number 2, the lonely cries of people experiencing inconsolable grief. That is, these are the themes which he describes on which poems can be written. Number 3, the expressions of tribute by onlookers as they see the wife ending her life on the death of her husband. Number 4, the bitter grief of the lonesome wife who has lost her husband in the forest. Number 5, the helpless cries of anguish, worry of the relatives at the death of the ones who mattered in their lives. Number 6, the piteous state of the husband who has lost his wife. Number 7, the misery of the wife who has lost her husband, beloved husband. Number 8, the words of disapproval by the wife at those who stand in the way of her entering into the funeral pyre of her husband. Number 9, the supreme act of the mother who seeks death on the battlefield on hearing that her son had turned his back in war. Number 10, the glorification of the graveyard, which makes it clear to the world that the lives of humans do not last long while the graveyard enjoys permanence. Such an elaborate, time-honored scheme and the several Sangam poems that exemplified would go to show that the ancient Tamils were neither scared of death nor obsessed with the mystery relating to death. Unlike the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers to whom death was anathema, it was not a terrifying experience but an inevitable aspect of life on which a vast variety of poems could be composed. Of the 20 situations which are called in Tamil Thurai, mentioned by Tolkappir, Kayyaru Nilai, close to the elegiac theme of Greek and Latin classical poetry, has been given supreme importance by the Puram poets, that is Kayyaru Nilai. A Perunganji poem sung by one Kavatanar, that is the name of the poet, advises a chieftain called Anduvan to earn a name in this world by giving, since what happened to the great conquerors that reach the graveyard at the end might happen to him in the near future. Vanmihir's poem stresses the impermanence of a king's state by pointing out that this world has seen 7 rulers during a single day. On a rare occasion, when 3 kings of the Chera, Chola and Pandya dynasties were found together, Avayar is reported to have told them that when a ruler leaves the world, his land won't go with him, but would be captured by strangers if they have done good. The strategy adopted by Thayangannanar in a poem of the Thurai called Kaadu Vaalthu is noteworthy. This poem says, Kaadu Vaalthu, that is in praise of the graveyard. Across it spreads the jungle. Upon it thick spurge grows. This is how he describes the graveyard. There in broad daylight the owls cry out and demon women open their mouths wide. The cremation fires glow and clouds of smoke cover that fearful burning ground. Hot, white ashes on the earth littered with bones, or quenched by tears of lovers, weeping their hearts full of longing. It has seen the back of every human being, all the people living in this world as they go away, but no one has ever seen it, that is the graveyard, turn its back and go away. A poem by Markandeyanar states that Mother Earth, the very personification of patience, being unable to bear the grief of transience of life, burst into tears. In the poem, this is a statement made by Mother Earth herself. Her face is like the sky, marked with the immense confusion of a storm, and her eyes are like the two huge moving spheres as the earth goddess weeps. She who is so virtuous, crying out, she says, I do not pass away as former kings have done. Their power so immense, they found no new enemies as they rolled their chariot wheels that are beautiful of gold with sapphire spokes and hubs of diamond over the ocean, so difficult to cross, where even the shifting wind does not go. No, I remain here like a whore, while many who praise me wish that I may long endure. The kanji words of grief and mourning have even reached that far, they say, who know these things.